What's up YouTube? Welcome back to Tactical Advantage. So today we're going to hit another AAR from a pistol shooting class I recently took. Are you ready? Let's get to work. Alright, so what we're going to talk about today is a class I recently took called Pistol Intelligence. That's put on by Riley T. Bowman. And you could find him on rileytbowman.com or concealedcarry.com. He's a director of training for concealedcarry.com, but recently kind of came up with his own kind of performance curriculum. He is a master class shooter in carry optics and uspsa and has a pretty good background and a really good handle on performance shooting. So that's really what this class is kind of framed as. So to get in some of the semantics, this class in particular, I think we did about 600 rounds. The proposed round count was 800 to 1,000. He was trying to truncate that down a little bit because of the ammo crisis. The course took place at Parma Gun Club in Parma, Idaho. And our host was a gentleman named Nick Nider, who I'll link his YouTube page in the description. A great venue, and it was really a good class. So past that, we'll get into a little bit of what we did. So really the first day, we had a pretty long safety brief and intro because we were going to be doing some pretty dynamic stuff and pushing limits. So we spent quite a bit of time talking about that. And then we moved into like zeroing our guns. Everyone in our class was running a red dot. And that made some of the stuff we learned later on a little easier to kind of track or understand, but I'll get into that. Then we kind of moved into doing drills that kind of built upon themselves to get to kind of an end state. I'm not really going to go into the drills, but everything was well thought out and kind of well put together in a standpoint to get you somewhere by the time you reach the end of the class. So with that being said, this was definitely kind of a performance-based shooting class. So there's a lot of conceptual stuff that you're dealing with versus mechanical, this is how you do that. That's not really what this course was kind of built like. It was more about understanding the concepts behind shooting, your mental state, your state of vision or what you're seeing, and how that incorporated into your overall kind of package of shooting. So it was kind of deep like that. And I haven't seen a bunch of classes that really dealt like that. There was the majority of the stuff you were learning wasn't based on a metric. It was based on your understanding of a concept. So that was really kind of interesting. So as we kind of rolled through day one, we got into kind of more and more kind of tools in the toolbox kind of shooting, you know, like I guess we could basically say like from the standard kind of bill drill to running a bill drill in a way and in a round count until you could no longer sustain your ability to really see what was going on or track. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's about exploring kind of where your limits are. And the day one kind of culminated into running the pistol IQ standards, which I'll also put a link down below for you guys to kind of check that out. That's kind of his benchmark, and it's really kind of linear. It's not like you meet this benchmark and you've made it, you're done. It really kind of says this is where you are and this is where you're capable of going, much like an IQ test. So that was really cool. I'm not going to get into what exactly that is because Riley himself's already kind of done a video that kind of explains that and makes more sense than I could articulate here. So check that out if you get a chance. So then we run into day two. And day two, we really got into more stuff dealing with shot calling, learning to shot call on the move while shooting on the move. And really kind of building upon the stuff we learned in day one relating to vision. And there was some blow your mind kind of stuff in day one about vision. But pretty much everyone in the class got to the point where they could reasonably call shots while shooting at a relatively high rate and moving, which is something I don't think any of us in the class had really done before. So that was exciting, and it kind of proved the stuff that he was teaching us was working. and we would go and grade the targets as a group. So that was really, really, really cool. So past that, we then got into doing some USPSA type stages. So we're kind of in a way competing in the class, and start understanding how to conceptualize running a stage, or introducing pressure into our shooting, and understand how we manage that and how we get better at that. So that was really good too. And then we culminated again into running the standards one more time, and that's pretty much how we ended the class. So with that being said, it was a really, really good class. I don't know if it would be a good fit for a beginner, because there's some pretty heavy cognitive load. I think a beginner could go to that class and be safe, but I don't think that they would really get out of it what you would need to get out of it, or what you're really paying for, unless you had a whole bunch of that other stuff already in your toolbox. So I would probably grade this as an intermediate or higher level class. I don't think that this would be a good one for your first class, but I think once you really start understanding how to shoot and how to get to the next level, I think this is a really, really good class. So with that, we'll grade it, framed as that, as probably excellent. So definitely, you know, it was a 7.5 hour drive for me to go to the class. With ammo and the cost of the class, it was a pretty significant investment, but I felt like I got a good return on that investment, and I learned some stuff in there that's really going to change the way I shoot. So, you know, it was definitely worth checking out. This is a new curriculum for him, and he's onto something. So he's doing something that I haven't seen a whole bunch of people do, or doing it in a way that I haven't seen a whole bunch of people to do it, where he's really basing it on your intellect, and then your ability to kind of use your intellect to employ those skills, versus like the hard wiring of skills. So it would benefit you long after the class was over. So anyway, yeah, it was good. So right now I'll put in a little bit, some clips of kind of the class and such, to kind of give you guys an idea of what was going on. And then at the end of this video, I've actually got an interview with Riley, so he can kind of explain to you in his own words, you know, what this class is all about. But definitely worth checking out, guys. So RileyTBowman.com, Pistol Intelligence, and the Pistol IQ Standards. Definitely something you should check out. All right, guys, so as the culmination to this video, I thought it made a lot of sense, since we're here together in Parma, Idaho, to actually talk with Riley Bowman. As you guys know from watching the rest of this video, we're currently in Idaho taking his Pistol Intelligence class, really the inaugural kind of send-off for that as a full package kind of class. And you know, you guys already have my thoughts on what that looks like, but I thought it was a good opportunity to let Riley talk about like where this came from. So with that, I'll let you kind of take it away. You know, what do you think?
Well, so my journey as a shooter, for a long time, I was very technique and skill focused, as far as, you know, the mechanical aspects of gripping a handgun, pointing it at a target, pressing the trigger. That was my world for a long time. I studied it very intently, and I got very good, you know, technically, as far as my skill is concerned, and progressed to a pretty, you know, decent, or, you know, relatively high skill level as a shooter. But I kind of plateaued, and I recognized that fact, that, hey, you know, I'm trying to chop off time here, or get a little bit better there, you know, maintain decent, acceptable accuracy, and you know, run that whatever drill in such and such time, and would struggle with hitting certain benchmarks more, you know, consistently like I wanted to. And so there was kind of this, and it was a progression. There was a few, I would say, like aha moments that started enlightening me that, whoa, hey, hold on, there's more than me just gripping and muscling this gun and trying to beat it into submission to do everything that you know, you're going to do what I want you to do.
Right.
That was kind of my attitude, is that, You know, more recoil control. All right, just like more control.
Hulk smash.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'm probably over exaggerating some of that to some degree, but that's kind of where I was as a shooter. And so, as I began looking elsewhere for answers, I started discovering more, with regards to like the mental game, as we might refer to it, vision related stuff, which is huge.
Right.
You know, we obviously could go in the weeds on that stuff, and I'm sure you've touched on some of that, but that started really opening my eyes and my mind, both figuratively and literally. And but then also the emotional aspect, which kind of mental and emotional really can be sometimes the same thing, or they really go hand in hand. But and it sounds funny to me even saying it now, because I'm not like an emotional kind of guy. Like, let's get in touch with our feelings and whatever. Like, that's not really me historically as a person. But understanding better where I am in my emotional state, my mental state, and then combining that with a high degree of visual acuity and awareness as I'm shooting, now put all that together with the full package of sound fundamentals and technique and all that stuff with respect to the physical aspect of shooting a gun. And now you've got that whole package.
And I think it's kind of proven with the class I attended this weekend as a student, the other students in the classes, and I think you touched on a couple points. So it's a technical class, but it's not about technique. It's more conceptually based, and it's kind of heady, but it's coupled with display of skill at a pretty high level. So it's interesting like that. So I think also you kind of touched on it. It's not a touchy-feely, like we're not doing like Zen stuff, but conceptually you're talking about how this impacts, right? So it's here and here, not here, and here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting how once you get that idea across, how it changed the shooters that were there this weekend. And it changed every single one of them, which is kind of interesting. So I guess for me, that was most impactful. The vision stuff, which I'm not going to get into what really you learn in the class, but there's some pretty beefy, there's meat on the bone there, and stuff that you'll absolutely walk away from wanting to figure out. You're not going to change yourself as a shooter in 20 hours,
Right.
but you'll get the tools to rebuild the shooter, I think.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes. When you can begin developing yourself in all these areas, especially the visual component is huge, because so much of what we do shooting wise is visual. We have to know that we put the gun on target, that we're aiming, and that the gun's oriented in the direction that we desire. And so 98, 99% of that, I mean, some of that can be tactile to a degree as well, but so much of that is a visual component. And so if we can increase our visual capacity and the way we process the inputs coming in visually, how we filter those, right? That's all really huge. But now also putting together the mental side of the equation and the emotional side of the equation, right? Then what this all does is actually helps inform the physical aspects of shooting. And that's the other, so you're exactly right. Like it's giving the tools to help shooters advance themselves, to grow as shooters on their own. And the primary way or means by which they're going to be able to do that is by taking these other components and creating feedback loops that then they will be able to discover for themselves, not the one technique or whatever, but that the technique that works best for them, because their vision and feel and mental and emotion, all of that is going to feed back to them, whether is this working or not.
Right.
And that's huge.
Yeah, and I can guarantee you guys this, and I'm speaking from my own personal experience. At least at minimum one drill or one thing you work on, within 15 minutes, you can literally change what someone thinks is possible with a gun.
Yes.
I'm not going to unzip that bag,
Yeah.
but I'm telling you it's true. And it was incredibly impactful, and I think for everyone. But that's just that alone is worth the price of admission.
When I discovered that, it was like night and day, flipping a switch. I was a whole different person.
Yeah,
and shooter
level up.
like within 24 hours. Like, whoa, this just changed my world.
Yeah. So I guess we're not going to beat this to death. It was a great class. I very much appreciate Riley for taking the time to actually talk to us, to hear it from his perspective. Worth checking out. I know you're not like big on touring. You've booked up a couple spots this year.
Yeah.
But if he's going to be in your area or within a reasonable travel distance for you, you probably want to check this one out, guys.
Yeah.
So, any parting thoughts?
Or if someone's interested in hosting me or something for a class, I mean, I'll work to try to see if there's a place on the calendar that makes sense to fit in. Happy to come.
How could someone track you down if they wanted to?
You can go to my website, learntrainshoot.com, and all my information's out there.
And then I'm pretty sure I mentioned it, but the name of the course curriculum itself is Pistol Intelligence.
That's right. It was the name that made the most sense once I thought through all of this and was looking at it like, well, this is a course about developing your emotional, mental, visual, and physical intelligence. Like, I don't know, it's all of those components. When we bring it together, it forms a more intelligent shooter. Mm-hmm. And that's, so it just, okay, that's what it is.
It fits.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
So, anyway, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'm going to tell you again. So, check them out. Good stuff. See you next time.
Thanks, brother.